Good morning, everyone. Are you excited to learn something new today? Well, I'm glad you are. So what are you waiting for? Sit back and enjoy learning. For this morning, we will be discussing about managing and producing energy source. And for our lesson objectives, number 1, describe the different sources of energy. Number 2, give a brief summary of how energy is produced from different sources. Number 3, differentiate between renewable and non-renewable sources of energy and outline the pros and cons of different sources of energy. Let's start learning! Before we proceed with our lesson, let us try to define energy. Energy is defined as the ability to do work. When work is done, energy is transferred from one object to another. Energy exists in different forms, such as electrical and chemical energy. Most forms of energy can be classified as kinetic energy and potential energy. Kinetic energy is the energy possessed by moving matter. Things with kinetic energy can do work. Kinetic energy depends on object mass and velocity. Potential energy, on the other hand, is the energy stored in an object because of its position or shape. To have a clear view on the topic that we have today, I would want you guys to answer activity 1.2 found in your module, page 278, from which you're going to compare the main source of energy from the different regions of the Philippines. You may pause this video while answering the activity. Electrical source can be broken down to two major groups, renewable and non-renewable sources. Renewable source is produced from sources that do not deplete or can be replenished within a human's lifetime. The most common examples include wind, solar, geothermal, biomass, and hydropower. This is in contrast to non-renewable source, which is a natural resource that cannot be readily replaced by a natural means at a quick enough pace to keep up with the consumption. Okay, now let's talk about renewable sources. We have on the list geothermal. Geothermal utilizes the heat energy from the Earth's crust. This heat energy heats up rocks, which in turn heats up nearby groundwater. The Malitbog Geothermal Power Plant Station is a 232.5 megawatts geothermal power plant or an earth steam turbine electric generator. The world's largest geothermal power plant under the roof, located in Malitbog, Canangaleta, Philippines. The power plant is one of the 4 operating in the Leyte geothermal production field. Geothermal energy is produced by the heat of Earth's molten interior. This energy is harnessed to generate electricity when water is injected deep under the ground and returns as steam or hot water, which is later converted to steam to drive a turbine on an electric power generator that produces electricity. Geothermal energy is less of an environmental hazard compared to fossil fuels, though it still has some emissions of carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and sulfur dioxide. In the Philippines, there are several operational geothermal power plants. These are Malibarara Geothermal Power Plant in Santo Tomas, Batangas, Macban Geothermal Power Plant in Macban, Binary Geothermal Power Plant in Bay, Laguna, Tiwi Geothermal Power Plant in Tiwi, Albay. We have Bacon Manito Geothermal Power Plant in Sorsogon. We also have Unified Leyte Geothermal Power Plant in Tongnan Geothermal Power Plant in Leyte. And we have Southern Negros Geothermal Production Field in Nasulo Geothermal Power Plant and Palimpinon Geothermal Power Plant in Valencia Negros Occidental. Now let's talk about hydroelectric power plant. Hydroelectric power or hydropower is derived from the energy of falling or moving water to generate electricity. Among other purposes, water is widely used to produce electricity. Hydropower is a proven nature, predictable, and price-competitive technology. A number of on- and off-grid hydropower plants have been built throughout the country, including impounding dams and runoff river types. Impounding dams are able to supply energy during peak and off-peak hours, while run-off river types supply electricity whenever capable depending on the volume of the water that is discharged from the watersheds. A turbine converts the kinetic energy of falling water into mechanical energy. Then a generator converts the mechanical energy from the turbine into electrical energy. The generator power is stepped up to a higher voltage from the substation and then exported for transmission. Some of the operational hydroelectric power plants in the Philippines are Palakpakin Hydroelectric Power Plant in San Pablo, Laguna. We have Balugbog Hydroelectric Power Plant in Narcalan, Laguna, and Cantingas Hydroelectric Power Plant in San Fernando, Romblon. And now that you know about the hydroelectric power plant and the geothermal power plant, let us talk about now the wind power. While an electric fan uses electricity to produce wind, a wind turbine uses wind to produce electricity. A wind turbine can generate megawatts of power depending on the weather conditions. Wind has been used in centuries to move ships and pump water. Wind turbines are installed in strategic locations to harness the mechanical energy from the wind. And some of the most recent developments in the Philippines are the Bangi Wind Farm, Burgos Wind Farm, and Caparispisan Wind Farm in Ilocos Norte. The wind energy power system in Oriental Mindoro, San Lorenzo Wind Farm in Guimaras, Nabas Wind Farm in Aklan, and Pilila Wind Farm in Rizal. And now we have the solar cells. What is the solar cells? If plants photosynthesis using sunlight, electric power technologies can also use sunlight for energy. Solar power is a variable energy source that is dependent on the cycle of the sun. The Philippines, being situated near the equator, has many potential sites where solar energy may be harnessed. With recent technology, solar power systems can be both applied to on and off-grid areas. Aggressive economic growth for the country is not far behind. As long as there is sunlight, solar power will always be available. Solar power technology may not generate energy at night, but is capable of supplying electricity to the grid of the daytime. A solar cell or photovoltaic cell is an electric device that converts the energy of light directly into electricity by photovoltaic effect, which is a physical and chemical phenomenon. It is a form of photoelectric cell defined as a device whose electrical characteristics, such as current, voltage, or resistance, vary when exposed to light. Individual solar cell devices are often the electric building block of photovoltaic modules known colloquially as solar panels. Some of the operational solar power plants in the Philippines are Lian Solar Power Project and the Calatagan Solar Power Project in Calatagan, Batangas, Cavite Economic Zone Solar Power Project in Rosario and General Trias, CW Home Depot Solar Power Project, and Central Mall Binyan Solar Power Plant in Binyan, Laguna. Solar energy is abundant, requires low maintenance, and is environmentally friendly. Emissions associated with the manufacture of solar panels are present, but very minimal compared to pollution caused by burning fossil fuels. And last on our list of renewable sources of energy is biomass. What is biomass? Biomass refers to organic matter from plants and animals, microorganisms. Organic waste such as scrap remains, manure, and garbage usually left to rot can be used for electricity generation. Rice husk and or bigas are burned as fuel to boil water. The steam from the boiling water is used to run steam turbines, which in turn drive generators to produce electricity. Another examples of a biomass are wood. It is an example of biomass fuel. As long as we replenish the trees that we cut, biomass can be a sustainable energy source. Biomass is used to create methane and alcohol, which are fuels useful in energy production and powering automobiles. Production of biogas or biofuels involves the action of microorganisms that break down organic matter in a multi-step process. Technologies utilizing biomass are continuously evolving in order to improve efficiency. Now let's talk about non-renewable sources. On the list we have fossil fuels. Most commonly, we have coal, oil, and gas are fossil fuels, which have been formed over the last 600 million years. Coal is the fossilized remains of huge forests which covered many parts of the world in prehistoric times and hence contains biomass. As the trees and plants died, they were covered in layers of silt and sand and under great pressure gradually became formed into coal deposit. Coal is the world's most abundant fossil fuel. It is relatively inexpensive and is readily available. The formation of fossil fuels is due to a series of geologic processes where the remains of organic life are accumulated in the ocean bottom and are buried to eventually become part of the geosphere. They are buried to depth, having high temperature and pressure where they are converted to oil, natural gas, or coal. In the Philippines, around 69% of our electricity is derived from fossil fuels: coal, oil, natural gas, and biomass. In the world, around 75% of our energy is generated by combustion of fossil fuels. Power plants burn fossil fuels, and the heat generated during the process is used to turn water into steam, and this turns the turbines. On our second list, we have electrochemical, or the most commonly called as batteries. A battery is a device that stores chemical energy and converts it to electrical energy. The chemical reactions in a battery involves the flow of electrons from one material electrode to another through an external circuit. The flow of electrons provides an electric current that can be used to do work. There are three main components of a battery: two terminals made of different chemicals, typically metals, the anode and the cathode, and the electrolyte, which separates these terminals. The electrolyte is a chemical medium that allows the flow of electric charge between the cathode and the anode. Batteries, compared to other sources, have low intensity, but they are commonly used since they are portable and efficient. Okay, now that you already have an idea about the renewable and non-renewable source of energy, on your module, page 287, I want you to answer activity 1.4 entitled Construct a Venn Diagram. From here, you're going to point out the similarities and differences between renewable and non-renewable sources of energy by using of a Venn diagram. And for your additional activity, for those who are living here in Barangay Poblacion, I want you to create an awareness campaign promotional video about the use of an alternative renewable energy and upload it in a blogging platform so it can reach large audiences. So this activity is for students who have cell phones, computer or laptop and has network coverage. But for those students who don't have any medium or devices, they can create or print digital poster promoting the use of an alternative renewable energy and then upload it in an online press website. Also, to check your understanding about the lesson, I want you to answer the assessment on your module found on page 289. And then after the assessment, in your notebook or journal portfolio, I want you to write a pledge to support your moral duty to protect the environment by promoting renewable energy source. Great. I hope guys you learned something new this session. I will see you guys in our next lesson. Again, this is your subject teacher in physical science, Nino A. Crisol. I'll see you to the next topic. Goodbye.